In this film, we offer you to take a look at possibilities many of us dream of, but very few believe are possible. Together we'll see there are truly no boundaries. You might have heard about a certain experiment with fish. If you divide an aquarium with a transparent wall, the fish inside won't be able to swim past it. If the wall were to be removed, the fish will remain on the same side for quite some time despite the barrier being taken away. There are many such experiments. Another one involves fleas contained in a closed jar. When discovering such an obstacle, fleas began to jump at just the height of the lid. They continued to do this even when the lid was removed. In yet another example, when a baby elephant is tied to a peg that he cannot pull out, he gives up trying completely. Even when the elephant grows up, he cannot find the strength to run away. In psychology, such behavior is called learned helplessness. This phenomenon is studied by scientists and is piquing the interest of those who understand that they're living according to old habits and assumptions, even though today's possibilities are far greater. On one hand, we create these boundaries ourselves. On the other, we are faced with constant restrictions from the outside. In any case, it's time to cross the line and open up a new chapter in human history. This is a challenge to the old system. The one you hear repeat every day: cryptocurrency, blockchain, electronic democracy. Stay away from those things. They're dangerous. You don't know what you're dealing with. Preamble. It started a long time ago. We watched movies, read books, discussed theories, and dreamed. We felt that the world could be a better place because we found examples of such improvements everywhere. The steam engine was replaced by gasoline. Then we had electric cars. Messengers gave way to the telegraph. Then we had the telephone. And finally, wireless communication. People learned to pack their experience into books. And so there were libraries. And then, the internet. Humanity made a quantum leap in knowledge. It was everywhere. And only one phenomenon had not changed over several thousand years: the state. Monarchy, democracy, authoritarianism, all of them predate our culture. Among the rest, democracy is considered to be the more humane. But in fact, it's nothing like it appears to be in real life. Democracy arose as a system of self-government in the ancient polis, rarely exceeding a population of 5,000 people. Only a small part of the population, approximately 15%, were considered citizens. An important detail: in those days, democracy was direct, which meant each citizen could come to the city square, propose his own bill, and vote for or against other bills, as well as speak out and try to convince others of his point of view. But in time, democracy became representative. This fundamentally changed everything. Now, we cannot directly express our will when it comes to issues of the state. We delegate members of Parliament and Senate, which officially represent our interests. At least, that's what we've been sold on. But remember, when was the last time someone in Parliament or the Senate voiced your position on taxes, the army, healthcare, or the priorities of your country's development? Instead, we constantly hear of corruption scandals connected with big business lobbying. The concept of democracy remains so on paper, but in essence has become a servant of big business and its apogee, the state. The same thing happened with the Olympic Games. Instead of being an honest competition of body and spirit, it's now a rigged farce put on by the chemical industry, pumping athletes with unknown and undetected dopings. Everyone does it. No one admits it. Those in power justify a representative democracy by explaining that without it, there are no instruments for expressing your civil position. That's a lie. We order products from halfway across the globe, conduct online broadcasts, receive targeted advertisement. There are plenty of technologies. Those in power only want to use it for prohibition and control. The emergence of blockchain drastically changed everything. This technology protects your data and provides a level of freedom previously not available. Faking a paper ballot is much easier than the results of voting via blockchain. But the world has been divided in two: those who see the possibilities of blockchain and its implementation, and those who block pages in Wikipedia and ban the use of cryptocurrencies. Of course, you can't ban blockchain. By now, it's a historical fact, which means that when those in power try to prevent it, they want to retain their control over the people, afraid to hand over control of the state. The state attempts to frighten us, saying we cannot live without it, like parents who don't seem to understand that their children have grown up and are much better integrated into this world than they are. They say we won't be able to feed ourselves or protect our homes from invaders, won't get the proper education and healthcare. But private companies seem to cope with this quite well, and competition has proven to only increase product quality. We are trained to believe that there are areas which cannot function without the state. But think about this. At the start of the century, no one could have imagined that the face of the International Space Program would be changed by a private startup, SpaceX. The same thing is happening in banking. Simple.com began as a simple startup of a few individuals. 10 years later, the service is being used by millions of depositors. The Faraday Technology Corporation allows you to create a car under your own brand, with the help of only a few employees. Thanks to this, you can now start your own automobile brand without any investments. What does this really mean? It means that technology development allows people to independently manage processes that are more and more complex. It means the creation of an alternative form of state, including a decentralized one, is not far off. It's time to go beyond our learned helplessness. Old state. Let's look into the classic example of the state in its general form. Only after sifting through the details can we see the true picture. First, the state means the integrity of its territory. We are used to the fact that this is good because our houses have walls and doors. But does a country need them? Most of our problems don't come from weak borders or external enemies, but from the people who live right next to us. In the 21st century, we realize that our true home is the planet Earth, not a piece of its territory. This means territory is an outdated feature of the state, which today we can do without. Second, the state is a set of rules within a territory. But as we've already figured out, you have no personal say in their approval. You can't influence them. Whether you like them or not, you must obey them, or be punished. Third, money. We are used to it like the elephant is to the peg. But habitual does not mean rational. Here's how it works. The state prints a certain amount of money and it's poured into the economy. To start a business, an entrepreneur takes money from the bank, pledging to return it with interest. But the money supply that needs to be returned, together with the interest, exceeds the amount that actually exists. So the central bank now prints new money, so the number of bankruptcies does not exceed a limit dangerous to the economy via inflation. The amount of total money increases, but the amount of work people are ready to do for it remains the same or decreases. So we have inflation. Inflation is, in fact, the speed with which the central bank issues new banknotes. If you give it some thought, it becomes clear that once this process is started, it cannot be stopped. There will be more and more money, while the economy stagnates or even declines. Imagine a formula where money will always get cheaper but never depreciate completely. Not the most promising model, but profitable for those who print money. It's crucial to understand that money, as we know it, is simply a concept, and it's not the only one possible. Blockchain has shown that the financial system can be safely decentralized and transparent, and that money can be deflationary, as with the most famous form of cryptocurrency, the Bitcoin. Its dispersal is limited, which means that its price will only go up. But the state forbids any experiments with finances simply because they're afraid of losing control over money, and therefore over the people. Fourth, the army. Does the state truly need it? Today we are sure that even major conflicts should and could be resolved without any violence between people and the state. There exist other legal, informational, and economic premises that show physical violence is obsolete. We're not calling to abandon and dismantle state-run militaries instantly, But in the long term, we want to live on a planet free of weapons. Fifth, mass media. That entity which mixes news, opinions, and theater in such a way as to shape and control public opinion. One way or another, most of their state-sanctioned views come down to maintaining power rather than reflecting the true values of humanity. Vision. We gave it some thought. If people fly into space, use wireless communication and the internet, what can the new state be like? After all, the old one arose out of a slave system and has remained true to its nature, just took on a modern look. As the German philosopher Goethe once said, "None are more hopelessly enslaved than those who falsely believe they are free."